Welcome back to the DJ Sessions, where we feature the best DJs, producers, and electronic music industry professionals from around the world. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and coming in halfway around the world because we like to get as far away from home as we possibly can. We have Shlomi Aber coming in from Barcelona, Spain. Shlomi, how's it going today?
Very good, Darren. Thank you very much. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm hoping I got that name right.
You got it right. Almost right.
Almost right.
Don't struggle with it. It's happened very often.
Awesome. So you are coming to us from Barcelona, Spain. You've been there for about 8 years, you said. It looks like you're in your studio. Is that your home studio that we're looking at?
No, this is like my studio where I have upstairs the BS1 office. And it's like kind of a complex where we have 3 different studios down in the basement and 1 office upstairs. But this is not where I live. I live a few blocks from here.
Oh, well, that's convenient. You know, I used to have one of my first studios I lived in the heart of downtown Seattle. I lived in the studio in a little room in the back. And then the whole studio was huge. We could do production. I had my boardroom offices upstairs. And it was a really cool office space. And then I ended up getting a penthouse in the building. And then I had a parking garage with my car in the building. But why do I need a car when I could just go downstairs in the elevator to my studios and work and go back and forth, go home? Never understood that one.
I used to have my studio back in the house for many years, but I mean, I used to love making music in underwear. You know, it's part of the trick. Unfortunately, with 2 kids, unfortunately is not really happening anymore.
So, do your kids get to come by and visit the studios and hang out from time to time, or is it off limits?
Actually, I was just yesterday in my 4 years old class just explaining about what DJ is doing and whatever. That was awesome. She was so excited, you have no idea.
What kind of did the class get to do any questions and answers? Did they get to ask you any questions?
Definitely, yeah. First of all, I had to show them a bit, what's happening, and then I showed them some videos on YouTube, like the boiler room set from they want to know what I do, so I played the boiler room video on YouTube, and all the class were like getting dark and the kids were dancing. It was like 10 minutes like you're playing in a. And then at the end of the day, this is actually the cool part. At the end of the session, the teacher told me, now the class prepare a song for you for your visit, and I was like very oh wow. And they started to sing, "Hey, Mr. DJ," all 4 kids. Oh, it was hilarious, man. 4 years old, 20 kids singing that Madonna song. That's experience.
That is awesome. I don't have any kids, but I would, if I was invited to parent teacher or parent kid day, I wonder what they would have me talk about being an executive producer. This is what I do. I feature guys like this and girls from all over the world.
It's as important, man. It's as important as the art is to feature it.
I want a song saying, "Hey, Mr. Producer, put that show on. We need to see another DJ."
And you have something to think of.
So the BS1 Imprint, is that a BS1 Imprint complex that you have? You have multiple studios, or is it shared studio space? Or tell us a little about BS1 Imprint.
Well, BS1, first of all, is my label and the parent company where I have different businesses in the music industry related. I mean, all in the same building as well, if you want to call that. Yeah, it's a complex where basically upstairs we're running the DJ agency where we're booking DJs of our exact booking agency, that's the name. And also the label is running from upstairs. We have a PR agency that helping labels to promote the releases, but this is very boutique oriented techno PR agency. And here below there's my studio and another couple of studio there that it's different, like different artists of the label that coming in and out and can share the space. Yeah.
And then you mentioned exact booking. And you do label PR. Is the label PR under BS1 Imprint, or is that under a different name?
It's a different name. It's under Out of Sync PR.
Out of Sync PR. And if I was an artist looking to get PRs, do you seek out artists, or do artists seek you out?
No. We like, the thing is that everything is kind of, it's like run as a family business. So basically everything is connected. It's the DJ of the agency that have the labels that we help to promote, and everything is, coherent with each other. But it's not something that's really open for the masses.
Okay. And you're in the studio there, and I see some gear behind you.
Oh, there's many.
Would you say most of your gear is more of a hardware studio or physical or
It's
software
very
studio?
much a hardware. No, it's all hardware. I literally using nothing of a software except the Cubase, which I'm a big fan of. And this is my first ever actually software, and I'm very loyal. It's been almost 30 years I'm using only that. So that's the only software based thing I have in the computer. Otherwise, the rest from the like from compression and EQing to synthesizers and sampling or whatever, everything is only hardware and external and analog as well.
And in a sense, that's kind of rare today with a lot of younger producers coming up because you
Right.
can get the hardware now into a software version. And how long have you been doing this for?
Producing, you mean?
Producing.
Maybe 28, 27 years.
Yeah, since 94. What has been your take? Have you ever looked at jumping in and doing software producing, or you're just a straight purist and it's over there?
I say if it's ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, I always been doing things in a certain way, and I'm not a tech guy at all. So for me, just the idea of changing and learning something new always been a hassle, you know. And the thing is this, you're right. You can get nearly everything today software based for super cheap, or some, you know, even downloading for free from the internet. But I started when there was no software at all. Basically, it was just the Cubase that you're making music on, and back then was also Logic or whatever. But you had really limited possibilities. So you literally had to have all of this machine to make music, and that's why I have my studio built since long time. And being a fan of these old school machines, anyway, they're very relevant as for these days as well. So I don't know if I would have to start from over like a new producer today, if I would just buy all of this, because obviously it's very expensive and not always efficient.
Mm-hmm. And you recently just put up some pics of your studio. Is that a finished workspace, or are you still always adding things?
So I have my house based in Israel, basically, where my original studio is, but I have like tons of machines that I gathered during the years. So when I moved here 8 years ago, I just shipped few things that I didn't know what's going to happen, where it's going to be my next studio. You know, it was all quite messy. So I just shipped few things that I used to work with very often. And it's literally just stay like that till now. I didn't really change. But sometimes when I go visit the family, sometimes I take one seat that I don't use and drop it back there, and I take another one just to refresh a bit, you know. But it's always a work in progress, like us as a human being, you know.
How do you work on collaborative projects? I mean, I'm not familiar with Cubase, but I guess you would have to take everything and put the recordings in the Cubase, because you can't really send the gear in the mail to somebody and say, oh, I want to do this and tweak it here. How does that work with co-collaborating on tracks or working with people on tracks if they don't have the physical gear right in front of them to make adjustments to?
I don't do collaboration that often. But that's
all the problem right there.
The problem. I'm not so much of a collaborative guy. I mean, I do love to collaborate on a lot of different things, but when it comes to making music, I'm the guy that literally doing everything by myself. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm creating since the first kick. I literally use the machines, you know, from this smallest signal to the biggest one. It's stuff that I create physically. You know, I don't use presets. I don't use overused sounds, you know. So I need to take my time and enjoy the process, which is not always making sense with collaborating with someone. Mm-hmm. It needs a lot of patience.
And if you could take one producer in the world that you revere or look up to or admire, and you saw a picture of their studio and you could steal or take one piece of gear from them, who would that be, and what piece of gear would that be that you would take?
All right. It will be, without seeing the studio, it will be definitely Jeff Mills. Okay. And what I will steal from all the gears around will be just his brain. Because that's the most important part, you know what? The rest is just knobs.
I've never had anyone say they'd steal somebody's brain before, but okay. I guess that was that.
He's literally the guy that I really have a lot of respect for,
Mm-hmm.
because he's been so authentic and so loyal for what he's doing for so many years, and he did it in the best way possible.
And now, do you play the guitar or any other acoustic instruments? Do you have any formal music training?
No, not at all, actually. I don't know even a couple of notes.
If you look at your list of your productions that you've done so far, which one of those stands out the most to you, and why?
That's a good question. Probably, if I have to choose a couple of tracks from the past, let's say 25 years of releasing music, or 20 years, I would go with a couple. I would go with Freak Side, which is a track I did in 2006. And it's been released on Josh Wink's Ovum label. And the second track will be Sea of Sand, which is a track I did collaborating with a friend of mine. Here we go. We're collaborating in the past with Guy Gerber for Cocoon.
Guy Gerber.
And what I like specific, and that's the reason I mentioned these two about this track, that not only that they been my biggest hit probably in my entire career, but it's two tracks that I literally didn't want to release because I thought nobody gonna like it. You know, they were so strange and freaky for the time and for the period that I was like, hey man, I don't want to release it because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, nobody gonna like this. And they become two of the biggest hits I ever had.
That is very interesting how that works out.
Yeah,
you never know.
You never know, man. Sometimes it happens exactly the opposite, that I'm super happy with the production. I'm like, man, this is going to boom, you know? And it's just not happening.
I was talking with somebody the other day, and actually yesterday in an interview, and they said they put a track out 2 years ago. It just started to chart on Beatport. And they're like, wow, what took so long for it to chart on Beatport? I mean, there's probably a number of different factors, but they were usually a track's life nowadays is you get it out, you pump it up, you promote it, and then you probably see some kind of downward trend, like it gets a bunch of downloads and then starts to go down. Not it just sits there for a while and then all of a sudden starts to go up. And it was somewhere. I think he said it was in some country too. He was getting the Shazam results for it, and apparently somebody's playing it Shazam. Or somebody's playing it in this country, and they're Shazamming it, trying to figure out what track it is, so it's helping it go up the charts or something like that.
Interesting.
Very, very interesting.
I
wish I knew more about that side of the music business. We are going to know more about that side of the music business because we're looking to launch the DJ Sessions label in 2023. We're super excited about that. Yeah, we're building up a lot of stuff to it, and it's going to be my first entrance into that side of the industry. That
but you don't make music yourself.
I don't necessarily make music myself. We're starting the label. We worked with a lot of producers. We'll start opening our doors to producers and start taking track submissions and start signing people to the label and moving forward that way. It just seems like a natural progression with what we're doing. Kind of like where you have the complex where, we used to be a show that focused on DJs, focused on producers, and focused on sets. We're now expanding the brand to go a little bit more international, add a few more components to it to give it a more of a fuller house of
But you've been doing this for a long time, right?
We've been doing the show for 13 years this October.
I remember since a long time. I remember that.
It has been a long time. I was in the electronic music scene before that with another series as well called ITV Nightlife, and kind of covering more things on a local level and putting that on broadcast television. This started back before YouTube really existed. So there was no internet video. There was no really audio podcast. iPods were brand new. There was no video iPod though. So why put a show online? Nobody could take it with them. Nobody could download it. Nobody could watch it. They'd have to still be in front of a computer. And even then it'd be this big because, learning how to compress videos was a fun thing to do. But we broadcast a lot on broadcast television to show a lot more local stuff and interviewed people when they came to town. It's been quite a ride.
It makes you wonder what's next.
But I'll tell you what's next. Virtual reality. And we already have 2 virtual reality nightclubs in alt space. We're talking to a couple people to partner with them to do some pretty big things here. But our nightclubs are in what we call beta right now. We haven't even launched version 1. we're already in works on version 1. We're already talking about version 2 and getting works on version 2, and version 3 is down the road. And we look at this as the next 15 years of what's really going to take place with virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and what that's going to look like in the entertainment space and in the music space. Because we also do events as well. We do silent concert events. And I'm supposed to be interviewing you. I'm not supposed to be talking about me.
No, I'm enjoying this. I'm learning a lot.
But
don't worry about it.
But no, we do silent concert events, or what are traditionally known as silent disco events. And we can't wait till the glasses come out. I'm just going to call them glasses for all intents and purposes. And we can start setting up virtual stages, AR stages at our events. Because normally you go out and you set up a table, you set up a DJ booth, you're playing in a park, somewhere outdoors. You don't got a lot of time to bring in truss and lighting and stage shows and lighting design and stage design, let alone that you got to get permits for all that. But we want to be able to go out somewhere, set up a table, and then boom, you put your glasses on and the stage is in, whatever we want to make it up in augmented reality. But with our silent concerts, we can have multiple stages in the same area because it's all through headsets. So
I actually have a couple of friends here that do the same. I mean, I heard a lot of different people that try to do the same these days. That's the future, obviously.
Yeah, we love the ability of doing the silent concerts because we can do multiple people performing at the same time, and then the audience gets to choose what they want to hear. I
have to say though, I know it's going against everything you basically said, that the idea is there and the future is there, but personally it makes me sad. Well, as an artist, that love the contact with the people and the place the world go these days, it makes me sad. It starts from being on the screen all day, even if it's just about Instagram, But I
don't think the people aspect is going to go away, especially with augmented reality. That's the thing. You're going to still have a real in-world experience. It's just going to change. You could have a room with 4 walls, but then you put those glasses on, and now I could be in space, or I could be floating in the bottom of the ocean. And that whole theme could be whatever's, instead of just the visual wall that the DJ gets behind them, imagine having an immersive experience where you have things floating through the air that you can interact with. Like, you go to a big event.
There is a lot of pluses for sure.
Yeah.
The only minus is the human contact. No matter where you go and what you do, you're still missing. But whenever if you put glasses or whatever you put in the middle, is something that is in the middle between you and someone else.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's always creating a barrier. I mean, for me to go to the club as a young guy was just to go have a drinks, to meet the girl, to spend time, to listen to the music. The whole experience as a whole was, this is something we're going to miss. It's going to change, unfortunately.
There's virtual reality where you're maybe at home and not around people. The augmented reality is when you would be out in public with other people.
Okay, so basically, I'm in the club.
Yeah, you're in the club.
Just wearing glasses.
Yeah, you're just wearing a little pair of glasses on, just like you would pair of sunglasses on. Or hopefully in 5 years, we'll see it where it can be contact lenses, and then, you're seeing that. And
we will get there as well.
It'll be awesome. I mean, the cool thing is you look at it from this aspect. Could you be throwing a show and then all of a sudden your song comes up that you're promoting and it says buy this song now, or you could have a merch booth on the walls of the whole place and buy a shirt, buy this album, and that could be through augmented reality, and then it downloads and gets sent right to their front doorstep, and you're in the crowd and you have a whole merch booth set up now that's part of your show. Or there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff.
It's just having Instagram just instead of your phone in the air, basically.
Pretty much. And that's the one thing that I find sad is that you find a lot of people in shows. You've seen this since the advent of the new smartphones have come out, and they're like this during a show.
Yeah.
And it's like, first of all, it doesn't look good. Second of all, it doesn't sound good. And third of all, you're going to share that online.
But you want to show everyone that you're there.
You want to show everyone you're there, but again,
it's about you, but them. It's always about what they think.
Some of the festivals where I saw this concept really come into play was in 2017. I was going to festivals, and the festivals I went to had no cell service. So all this was a camera. And I could take a couple pictures, but, and they're talking about, there are some parties that they throw now. Well, they'll take your cell phone at the door and put it in a bag and You can't use your cell phone when you're there and you're in the thing. Or
that's happening in Seattle. I mean, that's happening in the States now.
No sonar was, I think, no sonar, no, what do they call them? I can't remember the name of the parties, but they did a few of them here. They were very well received. I think they're a great idea, you know, and there's supposed to be other technology where they're coming out where there'll be an infrared sensor on the phone. And if they have the infrared beams going out on the stage and you point your phone at the stage, it won't let you, it'll say cannot record video. You might be able to take a picture, but it won't let you activate your camera. It's out there.
Let's say that taking picture or taking video, this is less bothering. It's actually part of the experience. You're there, you want to remember the moment, you want to share the moment. The thing is that if you're there and you're just talking with your friends on Instagram or or just WhatsApping or whatever, this is a different thing. This is the issue. And if you're cutting a signal, there's some club that can put some devices to cut the signal basically of the cell phone to solve the problem.
It would. I mean, it's a very, very funny, fickle industry out there of how to control the end user experience and what blowback could come, because now everyone's a producer. Everyone can kind of do what I want to do with you on site. Hey, we're at a show. Let's do an interview right now. Right. Car on site, do an interview. Okay. Content creation. There will be it'll be interesting to see where it all goes. Speaking of fans and people in the audience, what's the sweetest thing? What's the nicest thing that a fan has ever made for you, other than having 24-year-olds sing you, hey, Mr. DJ?
That's a good question. I have someone tattooing my name on his body actually twice. But I don't know if it's nice. What do you mean by nice? That's a very interesting question. I never had a chance to think about it.
I mean, a gift that somebody has given you. If somebody's ever said, "Oh, I made this for you, I'm a fan," or
when I had my first child born, someone gave me. I don't even remember when. Unfortunately, it's so embarrassing. Like a baby thing with the label logo on, like a kind of a baby suit with the label stamp on it, and it was pretty nice.
Nice. And do you have any other aliases that you produce music under, which you release music?
I do. I mean, I used to spend, now less, but I used to spend a lot of time in the studio, and I used to make a lot of music that I didn't feel like they fit what I want to release under my name. So I used it as ghost producing, but I never released it under different aliases.
And then is it just sitting in a vault somewhere, maybe waiting to
sitting in the vault, or it's been used by a friend that, I was like, man, this has to be released. Take it, release it because it's awesome. It's just not exactly what I'm doing, So there is a lot of tracks there that have been done by me that's been released. Some of them you will be very surprised because they've been very successful, but they didn't fit exactly because I'm very focused in one thing, in what I do. And when things are sometimes out of my way, I spread it. I don't mind to share it with friends and stuff.
And did you come from a musical family?
Not at all. Not at all. My family has zero musical. Actually, not at all. No. The worst we can do is the singing on the holiday in the Shabbat table, But that's as far as it goes when it comes to music in my family.
Reminds me, I didn't come from necessarily a musical family. My parents were musically inclined. My mom could sing, not professionally in any way, shape, or form. But my brothers were musicians, and I gravitated towards playing with video gear, the video equipment that my dad bought. He bought them all their musical gear and everything. Funniest time I ever remember, though, is I was in church with my dad. He's singing in church, and I'm singing in church, and he's completely off key. And we just start laughing our asses off because he's completely off key, but he's still going with it. And I'm like, gosh, my dad has no musical tone whatsoever. Where do we get this
he's
from?
Always going to be the last one to hear it,
Yeah, and he was never into technology necessarily. So, him lavishing us with technology, like I said, I gravitated. Like when we got the VCR, we got the stereo in the house or the phone or whatever piece of gear it was always, here, Darren, here's the box, you go hook it up. So I always felt inclined, playing with wires, playing with cables, reading instructions and putting things together. So it just felt natural to me to these kind of things. But, it's interesting that I had no entertainment background in my family history before that. No one lived in LA or no one was a big producer, you know. So it's interesting what made you gravitate towards electronic music at an early age?
Well, I remember, every Saturday, I mean, we're a Jewish family coming from Israel. Every Saturday, my brother used to come. I mean, I have brothers and sisters that are older than me, so they all used to come to my parents' house to sit on a Shabbat dinner, and then as a family, we're sharing experiences and stuff. And always, as soon as the dinner finished, my older sister, she was like 7 years older than me. She was a hard clubber back in the days, and I was like 12, 13 years old kid. I used to sit next to her. I mean, she was doing the dishes after the food, and I was sitting next to her next to the sink as a little boy. And she used to tell me, hey, I was in this club and this DJ was playing and it was awesome. And I was sitting there super charmed, like I'm hearing the words. I don't know, like I'm listening to Nostradamus, talking about the words, whatever. So I was super charmed and I was getting so excited. And I started to follow that. I started to listen to radios and stuff. And slowly, I have to say, she was really the force that pushed me, not being a DJ, just to open my senses for something that happens that was bigger than me in a way, like she kind of showed me what is outside of the norm music that I knew that days. And I have no idea what is clubs or, 12 years old in a small town in the middle of nowhere. She was telling me about gays parties and big DJs that coming from different countries and playing this and that kind of music and showing me some tapes and CDs. And, she got me all hooked.
Nice. And at what age was that when you said she was 7 years older than you?
7, 8. I was maybe 12, 13. She was 20.
Okay. And what was the first nightclub you ever remember going to?
Oh, I'm going clubbing since I was a kid. So I was I started as a promoter when I was I go for clubbing since I'm that age. Okay, 12, 13. I mean, kids clubs.
Oh, okay.
And around 14, 15, I started to be a promoter as well for some more commercial party in town. I did the whole route, then I was making my own parties. Then I was making my own parties and started to DJ them. And, that's how it goes. That's the ladder.
And have you won any awards in the past for what you've done as a producer or DJ?
Oh yeah, more than a few actually. Yeah, I had the Artist of the Year by Beatport. I had the Pizza DJ Awards few times. One by I think it was the Minimal DJ of the Year. Then twice Techno DJ of the Year. What else? Well, it's all in my bio. I don't even remember now. It's been a long time, but yeah, several different recognitions.
And what has been the best decision in favor of your artist career? What's been the best decision you've made business-wise that you can say, this is the number one thing I'm glad I did to make me successful?
You ask me now, very good question that basically I can speak for, because it's you ask me what was the best thing you did for your producing career or DJ career, and that makes you the more successful. But the two things are actually exactly the opposite, and I will explain why. For me, the best decision I took on my career was to, at some point, not to chase fame, not to chase money, just to chase my artistic integrity and to do what I like. Because at some point of my career, the time when I really, really peaked, okay, I'm talking about the time that I was the Ibiza, the DJ Awards nomination with Richie Houghton and Loco Dice and these guys, in that level at that time, with big hits and bunch of top tens on, a Beatport and stuff. And my career really skyrocketed. But honestly, I have to say, that was the worst period in my life, personally, mentally. I felt that I cannot see my friends anymore. I was traveling, doing like 12, 15 shows a month. I don't have family anymore. I have to quit with my girlfriend because I don't see her anymore. I have to start to play in a lot of venues that I didn't enjoy playing, start to play music that I would never play normally. And this is something that, when you're hooked into that loop, you don't recognize it. But when you stop for a second and you look from outside why you started this thing to begin with and where you are now, then you see the difference. and what happens to you basically. I mean, if you look on most of the DJs that are successful today, take the top 10, look the music they play now, it's all super commercial compared to what they play 15 or 20 years ago. I don't want to name names, but nearly all of them started as super cool, become huge for being super cool and very authentic in what they do. And this is exactly why I respect Jeff so much. Going back to the beginning of the conversation, where he didn't sell out. He could be, it could be easy another huge name. He is already, but he could be the one that making 5 times more money than what he's doing with much more fame, and he chooses not to. Staying, faithful for what he believes. And I took the same decision that at some point, like maybe 10 years ago, saying, you know what, stop. I literally cleared my schedule, cancel a lot of shows I didn't want to do, stop DJing for 3-4 months, did a lot of different acts to refresh and start over. But this time I said, okay, this time I do whatever I want. I start to release music that was much more underground, start to DJing in places that normally I wouldn't go, because they pay less maybe. And I used to get paid different, you know what I mean? It's like you choose a new path. And this is personally the best decision I did, but professionally, the worst.
Yeah, the fame, the a lot of what people see on the screen and a lot of people experience in the clubs and watching this go out, they don't know what it takes, what goes on in the background, the pressure, the disconnect, what you're having. I'm dating somebody right now, and I have to say we just met each other, and I'm going to be spending 25 to 50% of my time in another state. And what that's going to be like, or I'm going to be traveling to these conferences around the world. What is that going to look like in the dynamic of where maybe it was easy for me before we met and she's catching me on this whole ramp up. And how do you have a family life? What kind of life do you have being an entertainer that's always on the road? And is that healthy? I've heard that a lot of people after that time kind of have shifted and do the words you said. I took control. I do what I want to do the way I want to do it. And I'm a happier person for doing it that way. That is rings true over and over again.
100%. And I'm the type of guy, I mean, I have friends, most of the DJs that are my friends and they're very successful, they don't connect it to any ground. They don't mind to take a bag and go out for 3 weeks on the roads and no sleep and, doing whatever they're doing. I cannot. I'm a very much family guy. I'm really connected to my friends. I have to have my routine. I like to enjoy life day by day, not just the clubs and, also what's in between. And I'll tell you something, for example, I used to travel a lot till my first kid. And at some point I was in Colombia, for like a couple of weeks in a tour, so far from home after I was not home for at least 10, 12 days. And I was like FaceTiming with my wife. That was like 5 years ago. And while I'm FaceTime with my wife, the elevator of the building was moving. So she's showing me on the screen, like, she's showing me my kid that was 2.5 years old running. He just started walking, but he's running to the door, start to knock on the door, hearing the elevator say, Daddy's coming, And this is something that when you see, and then you see that is not coming because it was just the elevator, and you start crying, and I'm seeing all of this over the phone and FaceTime. It's like, it's heartbreaking, you know what I mean? This what for me was kind of a point of saying, okay, for the next few years, I'm going to tone things down a bit, take it easier, do more studio, enjoy what I do, but just do with the necessity. I'm not going to do any more than 2-3 weeks in South America, just in and out. I will suffer what needs to be suffered, but not them. You know what I mean?
And, that is a very sweet story. And that's very, I would respect, I looked at it, I have to take family over career. The one thing I love about what I do is I kind of, when I stepped off the edge of the cliff and left corporate America to start doing what I do, it had that in mind, that I would have the freedom to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And hopefully it's not about the money, But hopefully I'll be making enough money that I can bring my family along with me or bring the person I'm with me, and we can share that experience together. But I think you're right. When that settle down part happens, I think that would be a tearjerker for me right there. What
I mean, I'm
happened
having with you this conversation for, let's see, I don't know, like 40 minutes already. You're smiling all along. You know, maybe American corporate, you'd be richer, but maybe you wouldn't smile that much. You know what I mean?
I don't think you couldn't have thrown enough money at me to keep me in corporate America at that time. I kind of jumped off and said, I'm going for it. And it's been the grind, just as we all start out in the grind. And maybe it turns into something that it is turning into something actually that is paying the bills, which is nice.
Right. I mean, of course, you have to be fine, of course,
Yeah.
you know. But at the end, you know, it's money is a tool to be happy. If you're happy without, you know, exaggerating or abusing the tool, and you can live from enough, it makes you happy.
Yeah, going back to a little bit more of the DJ side of things. When you DJ, do you prefer vinyl or CDJs?
Good question. I always combine both. But in the booth where I feel very comfortable, that it doesn't happen so often, unfortunately, because most of the places are not set for full vinyl sets. But where it feels comfortable enough, vinyl is is the winner, obviously. I like to touch the same like I like to touch the machine in the studio, not the software. I like to touch the music. There is certain magic into it that you cannot explain.
Absolutely. And in April of this year, you just dropped a new EP called called Theory of Time. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration or the thought process behind the title and that EP.
Well, basically, it's coming from the most uninspired period of my life, which is COVID. You know, there's clubs are closed, nothing's really happening outside. I made the entire EP being locked down. So I used to come to the studio. The lockdown used to be between here in Barcelona, between I think 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. if I'm not wrong. So I used to come here like 7:55, you know, lock myself in the studio till 8:5 in the morning, you know, just leaving home. And I spent so many nights here during the time making music, and this is the product of the time.
Nice. Now, sitting behind a computer producing beats is kind of like you're sitting down a lot. You're in the studio. You're saying 12 hours at a time,
right?
Very long period of time. What did you do? What did you do to stay fit?
I don't want to stand, but I'm not that fit. I wouldn't show you. No, I'm you know, first of all, I'm trying to take care of myself as much as possible. I'm not doing like so much, but I'm working on it slowly.
You know, it's always sometimes people, you know, I spend a lot of time in front of the computer in a chair, doing a lot of emails, doing a lot of editing, doing a lot of outreach and stuff that, you know, luckily my partner that I'm with, she happens to be a physical trainer, Pilates instructor, and likes to get outdoors and get into the sun. So I'm like, I love you so much. You know, you know,
I started to do Pilates like a couple of weeks ago. I did 2 classes. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Life-changing for people like us that's sitting all days. For me, it was a life-changing, man.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you get back to work in the studio there?
Well, there is, there's nothing specific. Just maybe there's a couple of new EPs coming out now as well on my label again. So you will know pretty soon. I will announce this properly. I just released, I mean, if you want to know what I'm playing or what I'm doing these days, I just released a podcast to friends of mine that I really appreciate what they do. It's a platform called Hate. And this is the biggest techno platform on the planet right now. They do a fantastic job. I just did a podcast for them. And later in the year, I'm going to do one for you guys as well. As we discussed, I will be honored. But other than this, I mean, nothing in specific.
Awesome. And where can people find out more information or stay up to date with what you have going on? What are your socials or websites?
First of all, they have to watch this. That's more important. This 1 hour is more informative than most of the things you can find, you know, on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. That's why it's so important, these kind of platforms, you know, to get to know the people behind the screens.
Absolutely. You know, I really prefer, before we were much more in person and doing interviews in person, which we're looking so forward to getting back to. We're actually going to be going to ADE for our first time this year. You know, and it's funny because we had such big plans for ADE this year, and they keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller to where we're like, I think we're just going to go and see what it's all about rather than we're going to run around. We're going to interview everyone. We're going to get DJ sets. We're going to network. We're going to get a booth. We're going to do all this crazy stuff. And now it's gone down. I was talking to my girlfriend. She's going with me the other day, and I have a couple of my DJs going with me. And I'm like, I think we're just going to walk around and take it all in and see who
we're going to club it. We're going to enjoy the clubbing.
Have fun. And, you know, 400,000 people for 7 days. I was just at EDC last year. And I mean, while the numbers weren't large, but you can imagine the space is big enough for 250,000 people over the course of 2 days, 400,000 people for 7 days post-pan. You know, it's like there's going to be a lot of people there. A lot of people want to get back and shake hands with people. But, you know, we started doing the virtual sessions like what we're doing now, which is something I could have done a long time ago. But I'm happy we're doing this now. And it could keep me in contact, keeps us in contact with everyone from around the world, which is awesome. But we really miss that on the street. Shake your hand, give you a hug. Thank you so much.
Super important.
Of what's going on.
And especially when it's happening in Amsterdam, which is one of my favorite cities. I love it. The canals and the weather, there's something magical always in Amsterdam in the air. I think you're going to enjoy it.
If you had to choose ADE, IMS, WMC, which one of the three would you choose if you could only go to one?
So, well, definitely AD, definitely. WMC, I stopped going. I used to go every year for like 17 years, but I just don't go anymore. It's become so commercial. I mean, literally people from Europe don't go anymore. It used to be huge, but it's lost its magic. Once they split the days there, you remember, like the weeks or whatever, that was the end of it.
Yeah.
It did it not a couple of okay years afterwards, but then it's become so expensive just to go there anymore for people from Europe, and they stop. Don't forget that the euro compared to the dollar took a huge dive since a few years ago. And IMS, I can tell you the same. I used to live in Ibiza for many years. I used to play in Ibiza almost every week during the summers. Today, I don't want to say I'm a hater, but I'm not a big fan of what's happening in that island anymore. Everything is so commercial. People care only about bottle service, and nobody put just a fucking black t-shirt and go to the dance floor anymore and take ecstasy or whatever. They hardly do this, but this was the soul of the island, you know, that people book a cheap ticket, go there and get lost in the dance floor. It doesn't happen anymore. Everything is so priced and soulless.
Have you heard anything about Tulum?
Yeah, of course.
I've heard Tulum is supposed to be.
Tulum is cool, but again, Tulum is very much for those who go to Ibiza in the summer. They go to Tulum in the winter, but it's still same-ish. You know what I mean? But ADE is not, and you're gonna enjoy that.
Yeah,
because awesome. ADE is still the people that go to listen to music.
Are you gonna be there?
Of course, 100%.
Well, we'll definitely catch up with you there.
I would love that.
Thank you so much for coming on the DJ Sessions. Really appreciate it. And we'll be catching up with you here in the near future. Look forward to that exclusive guest mix. Looking forward to that exclusive guest mix.
My word. You have my word, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Shlomi. Did I get it right?
100%.
Shlomi, thank you so much for coming on the DJ Sessions. I'm Darren, coming into you from Seattle, Washington. That's Shlomi coming in from Barcelona, Spain for the virtual sessions. Don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, find us on Twitter, find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, The DJ Sessions. And you know what happens on the DJ Sessions? The music never stops.